Alright, so we're going to talk about marketing and sales today. And this represents a shift in focus that we'll take with the business plan. So thus far we've been talking about what the business is, the business model, a strategy of how the business will compete with competitors. And we talk about that first because in order to read the rest of the business plan, the reader, who would be an investor, has to believe that this business can actually work. So the strategy will actually make sense. Then we're going to, from here to the end, we're going to shift to tactics. So how the business is going to execute on that strategy. So this is an important shift. Today we're talking about marketing, which sounds a lot like market analysis. They're very connected, but just like I said here with these slides, where market analysis is about what the market is, now we're going to talk about how we're going to reach that market. To really understand and have some clarity about marketing and sales, it's important to understand the basic principle of what your business concept is. So you can think of that as your value proposition and your target market. So here's an example. Vegas Veggies is a business that was proposed in one of my recent business plan classes. Vegas Veggies will sell fresh, locally grown produce to discriminating local customers such as high-end grocery stores and restaurants that value quality and freshness. We will surpass shipped-in produce quality with a local hydroponic production system based in Las Vegas. So you can see in this business concept, first, what's the value proposition? So they're providing fresh, locally grown produce that surpasses shipped-in produce quality. And then the target market is generally discriminating local customers, but specifically high-end grocery stores and restaurants. It's important to kind of understand this and be able to say it just so that you have clarity. It might be useful to actually put the business concept as kind of the introduction in the executive summary. But generally you should just understand what your business concept is. That will flow through, if you understand that, to your marketing. I think we've already talked about this before, just so that again, I'll repeat, an industry are the firms that are producing a similar product. So they're kind of like your competitors. The market are the customers that are willing to buy a type of product, and then you can segment those, as we've talked about in market analysis, into subcategories. And then market positioning is how the firm relates to competitors. So we're going to be talking about how you're actually going to persuade customers in a particular segment to buy from you. So the analogy that I'm going to use is fishing. Okay, so if any of you are fishermen or fisherwomen, you know that when you need to go fishing, you're going to bring a lot of different type of bait. And the main idea that I want you to remember is there's all these different types of bait out there, which can work great, but it's very important to understand that you have to first know what you're fishing for, and then once you know what you're fishing for, figure out what type of bait you need to use. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to use everything, because as you know, as a fisher, when you go fishing, fish will only bite for certain things. So if you just try to throw out lures and flies and worms, just try a little bit of everything, it's unlikely that it's going to work very well, and you're probably not going to you're going to waste a lot of time. So it's really important to understand, okay, first, who are you trying to fish for? What's your target market? And then what kind of thing is going to hook them? And that's an important lesson that you need to think about whenever you're designing your marketing plan. So if you had unlimited data, what you would do is you could, if you knew everything about potential customers, you could just gather a bunch of data and figure out, and you also knew what type of things they're buying. You could gather all that data, throw it into a computer, and then try to figure out, this graph here shows how many factors will influence who's going to buy your product. So you could do that. You just use all this data, and big companies do this. They have a lot of data, and they're able to pinpoint with that data what type of customers buy what type of products from them, and then they can kind of target them very specifically with that data. Unfortunately, you're an entrepreneur, you don't have all of that data on your exact customers. So you have to kind of back into it, and it's kind of an art and a science at the same time. So you have to basically try to figure out what you think makes sense, and then segment your market, similar to the video from 500 Startups about customer segmentation. There's all kinds of different ways that you can segment: geographic location, types of buyers, distribution channel, characteristics of the product, what type of product different people want. Basically, you're just trying to come up with what indicators you think will make a difference in whether people will buy your product. So, as a group, I would like you to try to come up with how you would segment your market. In your business plan, I want to see 1 or maybe 2 market segments that you're going to focus on first. Okay, so you have to figure out, how do you describe the type of customers that will buy your product. I gave some examples for an air conditioning idea here, where if they're focusing on homeowners, they're looking for environmentally concerned, cost conscious, and performance conscious people. If they were focusing on home builders, they would be looking at low cost competitors, those that are trying to build a green brand, and home builders that offer free service. They could also segment by geography: high use areas where a lot of air conditioning is used versus low use. So it all depends on what kind of product or service you have. You need to figure out, though, how you're going to segment your market and where you're going to try to attack. And to help you understand that a little bit more, I'd like you to watch this video. You should be able to click on it. If not, you can just Google "Understanding the Job" by Clayton Christensen. It's on YouTube. And we'll stop there. After you watch that, you can come back to this video.